A very good morning. When you see these faces, you know it is indeed that time of the breakfast show here at Camnet TV. This is a Thursday edition, the 3rd of March 2022. Indeed, just a reminder, it is the Women's Month. Patrick.
Well, a happy Women's Month to you, Sharon, and the rest of
I won't stop talking about this throughout. You know me, you know me.
Exactly. Well, we'll be talking the Women's Month being the month of March, where we have Women's Day, but it is also a youth month.
It is also a youth month. It's a double, actually. So we will be doubling up this month, talking about issues to do with the youths, to do with women, empowerment of any kind. Because when we talk about empowerment, Patrick, what we think about is money. But empowerment comes in many other forms. We will also be talking about women participation in politics. It is a thing that has always been topical, especially when it's election period. We see these political parties not adopting women, and then it goes against the gender protocol of at least 50-50 gender representation in these decision-making positions. So we'll be delving into that conversation among many other conversations that affect the youths and the women throughout this month.
Yeah, we are going to be discussing what hinders women's participation in politics, so that we can get your contributions, your views on that subject, how we can progress further as a country under the United Party for National Development Government. What do they have in stock for women? We are going to be unpacking these issues up to on the 80th of March, when we'll be commemorating this day, which Sharon is eager to participating. But I'm not sure whether you're going to be actively marching as well. Well,
marching comes in many forms, darling, like many other things. So yeah, I may just find myself doing something.
Many other things.
Well, I may be here spreading the word, talking about issues relating to women and what we want. So yeah, basically that's one of the things. Advocacy doesn't mean I go in the streets or I go marching or I do what. No, I can do it.
Is that another way of telling me that you just don't want to avoid your heels? Because I remember the last time you walked a long distance, you had to carry them by your hands.
No, this is now
we can actually improvise. We're going to organize some flat shoes.
Okay, what do you call?
I want you to be part of that march.
This is attacking me.
And I'm going to sponsor that march.
You're already attacking me. And you know what? I think I saw some clip online some time back where men were I think promoting gender equality and they wore heels. So I think I should advocate for that. You guys here at Camnet TV should wear heels.
We may end up mistaking that for another agenda.
I know, right? But no, just for that day, I can't wait to see Elijah in heels. Isaac, my goodness, Amos, ooh, and Mr. Chitapangwa.
Interesting stuff there. Let's have our first segment we call
The Morning Boost. Keep yourselves fit and avoid those non-communicable diseases, among others. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome to our Morning Boost. I am Isaac Machisa, and I'm back. And let's do something quick now. I need that. Let's go. One each. Just 5 minutes every morning. You're good to go. Let's go. One knee each. Two knees now. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2 knees each. Two each. 2. And back here, march. Let's march. Let's go. Let's go. Go. Let's go. And we're going to do a little bit of abs today. A bit of abs. Let's go. Steady. Stretch. All right. Let's do a bit of abs now. Okay? Let's see how many we can do. So I'm going to lie down here. Join me. Come with me. Ready? No more crunch. Imagine you have a coin here. So you need to lift your head. Go. Take a break. 10 seconds, 20, no, not 20, 10 or 5 or 15 maximum. Let's go another 10. Let's go. 21. Okay, so let's do abs now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10. 20. 30. So remember, I need to be taking some breaks in between, but I did a straight 30. After 10 abs, take a 10 seconds break or 15. Let me give you my last 10. Let's go. 10, 9, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So try that, and it's gonna work good for you. Let's go. So that was for the abs. You do that, then I'm gonna introduce another workout, then we'll be signing out soon. Okay, so relax your muscles, and there we go again now. Let's work on the butts now. So I'll do 10 each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next workout, straight. Then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Last 10. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And good morning. Have a great day. This has been Isaac Matsa, and I'm gonna see you next week at the same time. Remember always to have a morning boost before you go out for the day. Thanks.
Welcome back. There you have it. The morning boost comes every time we have the breakfast show, and this is to help you get fit, and we just make sure that we do exercise before we start off for the breakfast, and that's what I do. I do not know about Sharon, but this is an important aspect we need to consider in life, because
that's what I do.
Keeping fit is very important and vital.
That's what you do.
Are you shocked?
I'm shocked, because even the way the that's what I do has come out, it's literally coming from a not so true angle, you know. But anyways, I'll leave it up to you to start doing it, because you don't. That's just
exactly. I started on a lesser note. I'm not doing intensive exercises.
But anyways, Samuel Machisa is always there to give us that morning boost every morning and every day. And you too can have these exercises at the comfort of your home. They are made easy in that you can do it anywhere. It's just about 4 or 5 minutes, Patrick.
Exactly, yeah. You don't have to wait for us to just exercise. You can actually do that every day. Just reserve some time. Even 5 minutes is enough, like Sharon has said, to just keep fit, run around, as opposed to taking a staircase, an elevator. Use the staircase so that you are able to exercise a bit. But the problem with us nowadays, especially young people, you'd find that we love luxurious things, even at a distance which you can walk. Jump on a car. And that reminds me of Amos Lungu, our sports journalist. He does walk a distance. But I don't know about you, because you lament even when the car is parked beyond your gate. You lament over that. I think that's a kind of shift we need to be taken as a country.
This is not
changing the mindset of ourselves, first of all, to say, no, walking is actually
I don't know why, Patrick, you're attacking me. You've been attacking me from the time we opened this show. But anyways, just about now, we go straight into our health corner, where we are going to have a different conversation regarding...
We are discussing heart disease today, and Nancy Mbasela is the doctor to help us with this discussion. Remember, they come from the Medical Women Association of Zambia, and they have been unpacking various issues, so you can get abreast with issues pertaining to heart disease in the following clip.
Let's look at it. Good morning. I am Dr. Nancy Mbasela. I am a doctor from the National Heart Hospital. I am also a member of the Medical Women Association of Zambia. I am a doctor who takes care of children, and this week we'll be discussing congenital heart diseases. So this month of February, we have been commemorating congenital heart diseases. We've been raising awareness for congenital heart diseases. Did you know that there are about 5,000 babies that are born with congenital heart diseases in Zambia? So if you may ask, what are congenital heart diseases? So the word congenital simply means that it's something you are born with. So congenital heart diseases are diseases that a person is born with. What causes them? Unfortunately, most of them do not have an identifiable cause. But some of the things that can risk or put a baby at risk of developing congenital heart diseases are things like alcohol during pregnancy or smoking, having an infection or germs entering your body, germs that we call rubella during pregnancy. And some of them are just familial, or what I can say, they are genetically predisposed to congenital heart diseases. Some of the things that can come with congenital heart diseases are diseases like Down syndrome. So if you have a child with Down syndrome, make sure you have them checked for congenital heart diseases. So what do babies with congenital heart diseases present with?
Babies with congenital heart diseases may not present at all. That is, they may not show any signs or symptoms that they have congenital heart diseases, or they may present very early. That is, some may show at birth, while others may present in adulthood. So babies with congenital heart diseases may present with things like getting tired when you are breastfeeding them, getting tired very easily when they are playing with their friends. They may also present with darkish skin. By darkish skin, I mean they may look a bit purple in their nails or their lips or their tongue, while others don't. Babies with congenital heart diseases may also present with fast breathing. They may be swollen. The swelling is usually as a result of their heart failing. Babies with congenital heart diseases may also present with squatting. By squatting, they may bring their knees to their chest. This helps many babies or children to bring blood to their lungs. The reason they are squatting is because a lot of blood is not going to their lungs. So the blood that is entering the body is not as clean as if it had gone to the lungs and had been nourished, then come to the body. Some of the complications that you see in children with congenital heart diseases are, so babies whose teeth are not very clean, sometimes the infection in that teeth, or I may say the germs in the teeth, may go to the heart and also worsen the congenital heart disease. The babies may also present with a stroke. The reason they get a stroke is because when your heart is not pumping well, sometimes blood clots may go to the brain. Sometimes when your heart has germs, like I spoke about, when they have cavities and the germs go to the heart, those germs may also leave the heart and go to the brain when the heart is pumping blood to the brain. Another complication is that this child may be sick most of the time, so they may not be going to school as often as other children. This may lead to poor grades and low self-esteem. So what can we do as parents or guardians or even neighbors to children with congenital heart diseases? So what you can do is that if you know a child, you have a child who presents with any of these symptoms that I've spoken about, you take them to the nearest clinic for them to assess the child, or you can take them to the National Heart Hospital for them to get a cardiac screening. What we want is for these children to come in early so that these congenital heart diseases may be diagnosed on time and they may receive treatment on time so that this can improve their quality of life. So what treatments are there for congenital heart diseases? So currently there are medications that can improve the function of the heart, that is, that can improve how the heart works. The definitive treatment is always surgery. And currently at the National Heart Hospital, we are able to give medication and even do some of the surgeries that can help, or that can help in the treatment of these congenital heart diseases. Yes, so as I was saying, so if you have a child with a congenital heart disease, or you know somebody with a congenital heart disease, or you are suspecting that your child has these symptoms that I've mentioned and may have a congenital heart disease, please don't forget to take them to the nearest hospital or come to the National Heart Hospital so that we can have your child screened and hopefully improve the quality of life of your child. So this morning I've been talking about congenital heart diseases, and this week we'll be talking about congenital heart diseases. So in summary, today we have been talking about congenital heart diseases, and we mentioned that congenital heart diseases are diseases that we are born with, that a patient is born with. Mostly it has nothing to do with anything that a parent did during pregnancy, because we do not know what causes most of these diseases. I also mentioned that there are risk factors, that is things that may predispose a child or cause a child to have congenital heart diseases. I mentioned that we should avoid smoking while pregnant. We should avoid drinking. If you have an infection while you are pregnant, make sure you get it treated as quickly as possible. We spoke about symptoms. These can range from no symptoms at all to a baby having fast breathing, getting tired while breastfeeding, to a baby squatting just so they can get some blood to the lungs. Also to a baby swelling because their heart is not working very well. We also spoke about some of the complications, such as loss of school time for your child because they are so sick to go to school. And we spoke about early screening. It's very important that these are caught early so that they are treated early. And I will emphasize on this because sometimes when a child presents late, the heart is far gone that there is nothing we can do about it. And also we talked about infections, especially dental ones. So as a parent, if your child has a congenital heart disease and has cavities or dental caries, you should always take them to a dentist. Even if they have, make sure that they get regular dental checkups to avoid those germs in the mouth going to the heart. So this week we'll be speaking about congenital heart diseases. Today we've looked at the overview. Tomorrow we will talk about some of these congenital heart diseases, as well as Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you very much for watching.
Well, there you have it. Always interesting to learn one or two things about our body, you know, from the time that we did biology in school, Patrick. I don't remember the last time you read about something related to health, Patrick. I'm talking to you.
You don't have to remember. Are you being sincere? When
I am being sincere.
When you know I write about health.
COVID.
The last time I was writing about health, I was writing about eye issues and other things. So, but maybe
I'm saying the truth
because you just directing me to read more about health.
Exactly.
But I do.
Exactly, because when you talk about what she was talking about, the heart, how many times have we written stories about the heart? This is like an eye-opener for us to say, go beyond.
You are correct, because we tend to write about the heart diseases when sometimes someone comes, they are asking for help to undergo a heart surgery.
And it's like 1 out of 10.
And 1 out of 10. So sometimes we hardly pay attention to those issues that are surrounding heart disease administration in Zambia. So we do not follow up to say how equipped our health facilities. Those are issues we need to reconsider as a journalist, and especially if we are to make progress, and especially if you are talking about achieving universal access to health. So we need to really pay attention to issues such as heart disease. Like earlier on when we had that morning boost, we talked about the aspect of avoiding non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, hypertension, Sharon. You know, that is what we talk about, because it helps us to stay away from such diseases like heart diseases, like the doctor was explaining. So no wonder the two are corresponding today, the two subjects, they are corresponding, and just an eye-opener that we need to
do more, to do more, not to disregard other illnesses or other sicknesses. I remember at some point, I think we had a discussion with one of the doctors. They were like, people are talking about more of COVID, and they have actually neglected other diseases that are still in existence. There's still malaria, and it's still killing a lot of people. There's still HIV, it's still affecting a lot of people. There's still cervical cancer, but then people have actually shifted their attention to COVID, especially that time that it was at its peak, you know.
Yeah.
But then when we are talking about health-related topics, it's always important that we are inclusive and don't neglect the other. So yeah, today's topic from the doctors is an eye-opener for us, and just for us to do more on these topics. For now though, we go straight into our next segment, looking at how our kwacha is faring against other major convertibles. So United States dollars is buying at 17 kwacha 72 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 606 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 23 kwacha 62 ngwe and selling at 24 kwacha 06 ngwe. The euro is buying at 18 kwacha 89 ngwe and selling at 19 kwacha 26 ngwe. And the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 14 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 17 ngwe. Those are your money markets as of today, the 3rd of March 2022.
Interesting. We see still trading
Within the same threshold, and yeah, you know, all the time. I think tomorrow, or next week when you're on the show, or if you are late, you are going to be on the show tomorrow, please do the money markets. I just want you to feel, you know, that.
I do, especially when you're not around. What I'm doing with Precious, I do a lot of times.
To feel that, you know, that oomph.
It says that you just want to take over, dominate, and I want to give you a space in the women's.
Oh my goodness!
And again, if I take over again, you say it's a women's month. Duh. That's you. So I'm trying by all means to avoid taking over your space. I will give you enough space to fill your Women's Month worth a while.
Indeed, I am enjoying this Women's Month from Patrick's perspective. So you two out there can call in and send in those contributions. Today we are discussing issues relating to women, like I mentioned, throughout this month, and also the youths. You too can call in and text us or tell us whatever is happening in your community. Then we can follow up with the authority. Remember, on this platform, you are speaking directly to the authority. And just about now, we go straight into zooming one of the stories that we aired yesterday. And that story has got to do with who, Patrick?
Well, that story we'll start with a story at the courts involving Joe Malanji.
All right, so Joe Malanji is part of the Patriotic Front members of Parliament whose seats were
nullified,
and they are still appearing in court. And him, the other time we covered the story, he wanted to present his grade 12 certificate, of which it was one of the reasons why this election was I'm trying to avoid the word because I really can't.
I'll be just adding nullified.
Yes, please add on. So yes, so he wanted to actually produce his grade 12 certificate,
yes,
but he was denied. And judgment will be passed soon, and we can only wish him well. Among other 7 parliamentarians who have petitioned this ruling. So yeah, we are following this story with Miriam Kaimba from the court grounds, and she brought us this report. Let's look at it.
After putting up a spirited fight to defend his election as Kwacha constituency member of parliament on the basis that he did possess a grade 12 certificate, Joseph Malanji now puts his hope in the Constitutional Court to give him a second bite at the cherry. The former Minister of Foreign Affairs has pleaded with the court to quash the decision of the High Court judge to declare his election void on the reason that he did possess a grade 12 certificate when he was re-elected as Kwacha constituency member of parliament. This is in a matter where he has appealed the High Court's decision to nullify his election. When the matter came up for hearing of the appeal Wednesday morning, Mr. Malanji submitted that the trial court abdicated its responsibility and failed to execute its duty by not giving him an opportunity to produce the requisite academic qualifications. He says the trial court should have subpoenaed the chairperson of the Examination Council of Zambia to attest the authenticity of the school certificate. The former Minister of Foreign Affairs argued that the lower court shifted the burden of proof on himself to prove that he did possess a grade 12 certificate when the petitioner, Charles Mulinga, of the UPND failed to prove the allegations. Mr. Malanje submits that if the court does not reverse the judgment of the High Court, it will create confusion in the nation in relation to election petitions, as there will be no another mode of providing petitions contrary to the established manner of proving petitions. In his response, Mr. Mulinga, through his lawyer, submits that the lower court was on firm ground when it held that Mr. Malanje did not meet the requirement of Article 71D at the time he was re-elected. He says Mr. Malanje did not exercise his right to bring witnesses as he was trying to run away from the issue of grade 12 certificate when it was presented to him. Further, that the appeal should be dismissed for lack of merit. The court has reserved judgment for the 5th of May 2022. The judgment will be a determinant for a by-election in Kwacha constituency or whether Mr. Malanje will return his seat. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Welcome back. There you have it. That's our first story we zoomed in involving Joe Malanje, the Kwacha constituency member of parliament whose seat was nullified on account of not having a
grade 12 certificates, among other reasons of election malpractice. So yes, that is as it stands, and we are waiting for ruling obviously soon, and we'll pick it up from there and see what happens. If at all the seat will be reinstated or it will go to a by-election. These are stories that we are tracking from the court with Miriam Kayemba. Just about now on set, we are joined by our first guest, Patrick. First interview, not a stranger to us and to many people.
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Chilekwa Mambo is coming from Kalumbila Multi-Purpose Cooperative, and he has great news, and we want to tap into that information that he's just brought to the Zambian people and the Zambian youth, especially that we are celebrating the youth this month and women as well. Mr. Mambo, welcome to this interview.
Thank you so much. And
good to have you on set once again.
It's a pleasure.
Tell us about your outfit. Are you a Christian?
Very much Christian.
When people see such outfits, they begin to think you have actually transitioned. I mean, people change.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it is our right to choose any religion. However, you know, I just came back from the United Arab Emirates.
Hence the outfit.
Yeah, hence the outfit. I met a lot of business people there, you know, who have become our partners. And I think I just enjoyed this outfit because it's free.
It made you feel powerful.
Well, I don't know about that.
It made him feel powerful. It made him feel part of them, and he's still zoning into that mood, you know.
You know, it's just embarrassing to find that a country that actually was a desert and is still partly a desert has got so much wealth, too much wealth rather, you know, than a nation that is, you know, that has got climatic conditions that are in favor of each one of us. You know, even when you look at their dairy farming, they have to put air conditions for them to milk their cows properly. Here we don't need to do that. We just need to put them in free range, you know. So even rains, they have to decide where the rain should fall. They have to do some scientific stuff. Here God just pours the rains on us. And yet we are one of the poorest in the world.
Tell us about this trip to the United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, the trip to the United Arab Emirates, you know, came from the time President Daga Inde Hichilema visited that place. You know, he called on the citizens of that nation to actually, you know, work with, you know, the private sector in our country. And Dr. Msharika is you know, I'm also part of Jochi as a brand ambassador. Is Chief Executive Officer of Jochi, and also is the Chief Executive Officer of the company that we just registered. So we opened our eyes and we started looking, you know, because President Daga Inde Hichilema has been talking about opportunity, Chief Marketing Officer of the Zambian people. It's not just every Zambian person. It is the people that will take advantage of the businesses. business opportunities. So we had to Google and we had to look into the expo, what companies are there in Dubai, which we can take advantage of. And we came across a company called Skyline General Dealing and Trading LLC. And upon seeing that company, we actually also found other oil companies. But we, after communicating with them, Skyline seemed to be very friendly. And they agreed to say, you guys, we can actually register a sister company in Zambia, and we can be supplying you, the oil lubricants. And well, from that time when the president came back, we continued talking with the guys. They invited us. And we had to organize ourselves because Jochi is managing more than 200 cooperatives. Those are more than 2,000 people. So we had to talk to our team in the cooperative model, which was under a union. And members were interested to say, guys, we can do this business. So we registered the company, and then we invited our members to actually buy into the project. Within 3 weeks, we raised not less than $70,000 and we had to take a trip. We signed the deal, and they have even written to the president of this republic about this very deal. So as I'm talking to you, very soon we'll be actually done with ERB, and we'll be sending the money to that place. So what is happening is that when we purchase the oil there, they put in a 40-foot container. It has to come to Dar es Salaam. Then from there, what have we done? Because we know that we're just beginners. We have gone into what we are calling the value chain. There are some Indians here who have actually come on board with trucks. So we have a warehouse. So their trucks will be going to Dar es Salaam, pick up the oil lubricants, bring them to the warehouse, and then they have selling points. So the selling is not our baby. Our baby is to get a commodity. Then once they sell, they do a markup, they make their money, they give us our money, we continue with the business. So imagine if we can involve a lot more Zambians in these big and huge businesses, the lives of many Zambians would actually change.
How should people get involved, especially the youths, women? We have a lot of vulnerable women, we have a lot of youths that have actually completed their probably education. We've seen a lot of doctors protesting, a lot of people that are still waiting to be employed by government. What is your call to them to just come on board and get involved in this lucrative
I thank
venture?
God that this has come at a time like this. As you know, I ran a cooperative with colleagues, Kalumbila, which was involved in some controversy at some point. And some people misunderstood us, mistaking us for a political-oriented organization, of which there is no proof. So at the end of the day, we are even rebranding our organization. Some people were putting in little shares here and there, 300 this year, 600 next year. We are even refunding them for the projects that didn't take place. And why? We have actually done something very important. When you talk of people going to university and then only expecting governments to employ them, it is the wrong thing. I don't want to attack anyone, but I just want to say, going to school, coming back with your degree and expecting to be employed only without utilizing what you got from school is the wrong thing. Look at Indians who do medicine in Zambia. What do? They form companies. They register clinics and hospitals. But you know what? For Zambian people, that is very tricky because it has not been our tradition to be in families that have actually done businesses. We have been in families that have depended on work, starting with our forefathers. So it is difficult for Zambian people. Now, when you look at what is happening right now in the country, there is an issue of emphasis, emphasizing on cooperative formation. And this cooperative formation, the only disadvantage is that many people, when they form cooperatives, they expect government to actually fund them. That is what is killing us. Now, what we did to respond to this challenge in our economy, we have invited Zambians, civil servants, people from the media fraternity, and many other people to come on board, including the youth who are not working, get my word, who are not working in informal employment, to come and join what you're calling the multi-million, dairy farming project. It may sound big. Yes, it is big, but it can get even a smaller person in society. I'm a former garden boy, and I proudly mention this each time I'm on set. You know, as a garden boy, I could hustle and make a 500 kwacha, a 1,000 kwacha. So, meaning that even a youth out there who would follow the Bible as we are Christians to say, blessed is the hand that giveth, and also the hand that worketh.
Yes.
So God blesses the works of our hands. You can do anything, my brother, with your hands. If we have got that man who has got no limbs and is a millionaire, billionaire, what about us with hands? We can do anything. So I'm encouraging the young people out there to say, don't just sit and expect somebody to actually make a life for you. We have to hustle. I'm a proud former garden boy. They have to go and look for money out there. My friend, you can do anything with your hands. Okay, so people are joining. As I'm talking, even garden boys, maids, civil servants, they are joining what you're calling the multi-million dairy farming project, which will be actually in Mongolia. So what am I talking about? It is only a 500 kwacha that people are putting in there, and 100 kwacha for the law firm that we have brought on board to actually manage this, wealth building, facility. So for Zambia to move from this level to be the next Dubai of Africa, or the first Dubai of Africa, we must put our heads and our hands together and know that we can't run cooperatives based on Boma Yanganepo. That nonsense should come to an end. Believe me, otherwise it is embarrassing that a desert is now looking better than any place in the world.
Yeah, Patrick.
Interesting stuff there. But now we want to understand what are the differences. You mentioned the aspect of Jochi and Kalumbira multi-purpose cooperatives. Are there distinctions on that, or if people want to participate, how can they participate in either of the ventures? How can they participate between the two?
Very much important question. Actually, Jochi, Genuine Millionaires Movement is simply a consultant's firm that is managing cooperatives to run as businesses. Right now, under Jochi, we have more than 200 cooperatives that we are managing. And so people can join a Kalumbira cooperative. People can join the Zambia Savings and Credit Union Cooperative Society Limited. Okay, they are free to join. It's only 150. You are part of it, and you begin to participate. Yesterday, I'll tell you one thing. This time around, I'm not scared if anyone called me up. Political what? Nonsense. Do you know why? Zambians are suffering. Women and youth are suffering in this world, in this nation. That's why you're seeing these people, a lot of them killing themselves. What? Youths are going through a lot of challenges. We're a youthful nation. I was with the Honorable Bino Mpundu, from, is it Kwacha, Ghana East?
Copperbelt.
Okay, Copperbelt. And he was telling me to say, I've got a lot of youth in my constituents. What can we do? And I told him to say, listen, Honorable, you are an independent member of parliament. There are others who are in the ruling, others who are in the opposition. But for me, I don't care. As long as in your constituency, there are women and youth, civil servants, and everybody who is undergoing through challenges, we can work together. Let's forget about the day we voted, Madam Sharon. Let's forget it, brother. We need to get together, get to the drawing board and see what can people do together. Not you, so 2026 to come. That rubbish should come to an end. 2026 will come and sort itself out. This time around, people are suffering. People are committing suicide. People are dying. Why? Njala has got no respect. The only thing that Njala, listens to is food.
Indeed, we're in conversation with Chileka Mambwe, and a very interesting conversation, as you can tell from his outfit. He went to Dubai, and he's bringing us great insights with regards to a new undertaking and the contract that they signed with regards to oil-related issues. And you and I would want to get more of that information. This is what we are talking about.
So about the oil business, under which cooperative does it fall in? And if Sharon wants to join and be part of the movement,
what are the conditions?
What are the requirements? And what are the benefits?
Wonderful. First and foremost, the oil business falls under a company called Skyline. Skyline Oil. Trading, General Trading Limited. That is a sister company to Skyline, General Trading LLC. And we have got a cooperative movement called Zambia Savings and Credit Union Cooperative Society Limited. And this is a cooperative body that people have to join if they have to participate in the oil business. Because this company based in Zambia is able to trade with a cooperative. And then for you to join, the benefit is simple. When you are part and parcel of this company, you buy some shares in the cooperative body, the cooperative movement I'm talking about, you'll be able to get your dividend. So that is how we are actually helping cooperatives run as business. Believe me, the government of the Republic of Zambia needs to emphasize more on mindset change. As long as people think when they form a cooperative, they should wait. Well, we are in for a very serious doom economically. And also, the other thing we should also emphasize on is that His Excellency, the President of this country, has been telling people to form companies and cooperatives. I think you remember that.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that when you form a company, you have the papers, you sit back. No. It means you form a company, and then you must come up with ideas. And that's why we took advantage of what President Hakainde Hichilema and government officials had gone to do, went to do in Dubai. And we took interest, and we have taken advantage of that. Sure. And I'm actually calling upon every Zambian out there to actually be alert, open their eyes, and take advantage of every presidential pronouncement, every policy directive from the ministers. Sure.
When the president went to Dubai, were you part of that delegation, or how was it?
Myself, I'm just a simple Zambian. I was just in my living room watching TV and, just following the proceedings. Yeah, I had no right to be part of that.
How did you identify
marketing officer?
Definitely.
Yes, but how did you identify Skyline?
We went on Google and checked on the companies that were doing oil in Dubai and also other businesses. By the way, whilst we were in Dubai, we met, billionaires, people that have actually, like one person owning ships, 20 ships, okay? Okay, another one owning a place like Kawata. Okay, those are serious billionaires. So we were actually given a privilege to actually come and talk to the Minister of Livestock and Fisheries, so that the guys are ready to bring in an equipment worth $1 million as a donation to the cooperative movement. So this cooperative movement we're talking about, we are ready to actually bring in machinery. And as long as we connect them to the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries, and imagine how much milk we'll be producing.
All right. Very, very interesting conversation there we have with Mr. Chilekwamamwe. You too can send in those contributions and ask him the questions that you feel he can respond to. This is a good platform, actually. Whatever he says will be on record. So take advantage of this opportunity. And he's been telling us of his journey and his crew to Dubai, and brought us very insightful information. Tell me, Mr. Mamwe, how does one qualify? How much, do they need to put in to be part of that movement, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there a minimum amount or a maximum amount?
Definitely. When you look at the Cooperative Society Act, you find that the bylaws differ. So it is dependent on what you want as a cooperative. A cooperative society can be formed by a minimum of 10 people, and those 10 people or more have to make decisions to say, how much do we need for membership? It can be 100 kwacha, it can be 150, it can be 500, it depends. Then also, you go for the minimum share. It is up to you. So for instance, the Zambia Savings and Credit Union Cooperative Society Limited has got a membership of 150 only per year, and then a share 300 kwacha. But with this special project for dairy farming, it is a project where, for instance, I always tell people that I'm a proud expectant father, okay? My woman is expecting, my wife is expecting. So the thing is that even for that child we're expecting, I am beginning this April to put in a share. A 500 kwacha and 100 kwacha security for the lawyers, okay, and administration. So If 500 kwacha will be going in for my unborn child, should God bless us with that child to come to this earth, you find that by the time my child will be 6 years old, we'll have too many cows, okay, the dairy cattle. Now imagine how much money my child is going to be entitled to. This is what my father didn't do. Of course, he died prematurely. He left me with an inheritance called a surname. But you and I should change the narrative. It is now or never that Zambians should actually begin to create wealth, or else tukababankole in our own country. We'll be foreigners in our own land.
So I'm interested on the issue I'm mentioning on the dairy farming. You mean how you have to start owning cows or cattle, to say. How is that process being undertaken, Mr. Bambu? How are you making sure of that, to say, yeah, by the time your child is growing up, they would have been entitled to 3 cows, to 3 cattle. But how is that, are you guaranteeing that?
Thank you very much. So, one thing that we did, coming from my past, there's this issue of going on where people are killing themselves. I attempted suicide when I was a teenager, only 17, because of poverty. My father died and my stepfather was abusing me, and I decided to take my life twice. But God saved me. It's another story for another day. So the thing is that because of the past I went through, because of how I saw relatives, forsaking us, who were dining with us and daddy, I have come up with all these ideas which I've sold to my team, and my team has bought into them. We have involved a firm, an accounting firm, that is working on our accounting system for this, dairy farming project, multi-million. And then we have involved a law firm called the Meander and William, Meander and William legal practitioners. Their job is to make sure that each and every money that comes in, because the investment is even, you put in the same, okay? Each and every investment that comes in, they protect that to the letter, okay? And the accountants are busy auditing every month. I mean, this is happening for the first time in Zambia, and I'm so proud to be one of the pioneers for this project. So this is how we are maintaining this, because I know that one day I may leave this world. What happens to my child? And moreover, the question you asked also had to do with how is it possible to own that cattle? Simple. Through Ubuntu. What has been killing us in Zambia is the issue of business. No, that nonsense doesn't work. But when we put my 500 kwacha, your 500 kwacha, and we are looking for 1,000 people for this project, the launch is set on 10th April this year at Mulungushi International Conference Center. What happens is simple. If 1,000 of us are putting in 600 kwacha every month, that is 600,000 kwacha. So we are beginning with, at the farm, first of all, infrastructure, simple infrastructure. And then months will be coming until we begin to buy cattle. Every month we'll be buying not less than 25 incaf, those with pregnancy. So 1 year from now, we are not going to be the same. Last on that one, there is a man in Mukushi. This is my favorite story. Who is actually a Muzungu from Zimbabwe, was chased by Mugabe. And then this man, at the time he had 1,700 cattle, he was making 240,000 kwacha every day with only 55 workers. And that 240,000 kwacha is a pension for a simple civil servant who will have worked for 33 years in Zambia, but is making it only in a day. Now, think of in 33 years, how much money can that man make? This is where we are missing it. That's why I would die preaching cooperatives running as businesses.
Great, Mr. Mambwe, as we close this interview, your concluding remarks. We will definitely have you on the show again to talk about other things. I mean, yours is an ongoing conversation. You will die preaching cooperatives.
Yes.
As we will continue
asking about
the progress.
My concluding remarks are simple. Don't just continue asking me about cooperatives. Join them. Join them. And we have invited journalists countrywide, by the way, to this very project. And I'll continue coming here, yes. But my word to my fellow Zambians is that remove fear from your lives. Don't fear your fellow human being, because that human being you're fearing will one day die just like you and will go 6 feet under. Therefore, fear God and poverty only. Because poverty can humble you, and God can burn you into hellfire if you don't live right. Zambia is the only country we have. Let us love this country a little bit more. I love Zambia. Do you? Thank you.
I love Zambia too, indeed.
Do you?
Poverty and what? Fear
poverty and God. That's all. Don't fear your fellow human being. They also die one day, yes. And they'll be judged like you.
But poverty.
Eish. It's almost humble.
Poverty is a crime.
Yeah, sure.
At one point, compelled him to attempt suicide.
Exactly.
That's how dangerous it is.
It is dangerous.
And we are glad that it's a living testimony. To say you can overcome the stress and everything and move on in life and do things that work for you and your family and the nation at large.
Indeed. All right, just about now we go straight into one of the stories as we zoom out our guest and zoom in that story.
Yes, and that story we'll talk about is the story involving Bizwa Mutale, talking about the PF and its rebranding process.
Let's look at this story.
Opposition Patriotic Front, Zambia's major opposition political party's quest to rebrand continues to be overshadowed by the ongoing anti-corruption crusade as its leaders have continued to be entangled with allegations on crimes committed during its tenure. But the party has also been entangled in internal wrangles, a move political scientists like Professor Bizek Piri say is retrogressive and may affect the party's ability to rebrand and provide credible checks and balances.
They need to get down on the ground and say, let's reorganize ourselves. Why am I saying so? Opposition political parties are what make democracy work.
Notably, Patriotic Front aspiring President Bizwa Mutale feels the party has lamentably failed to rebrand itself.
That the PF has not accepted that the PF is in the opposition. And we have not accepted the current status of our party. And we still feel that we are in the ruling party based on our conduct. And also the decision that we make, it doesn't show any change. So as for that, even running it to the rebranding of the party, we are not in a state we can say we are ready to say that we are moving into the right direction.
And on the fight against corruption, PF officials say they are being persecuted. But Mr. Mutare disagreed that the fight against corruption amounts to persecution.
All this you are seeing is persecution from Mr. Aka in the Ichilema's government, but you are not going to stop talking.
He says most of the people vying for the presidency are recycled politicians who contributed to the downfall of the party.
I don't share that sentiment, I don't. Look, we need to be truthful. If we are to fix our own party, we need to be truthful to ourselves. Okay? When you pray for the rain, you must be prepared to deal with the mud. And this is the mud that we have positioned ourselves. We are looking into it. When you step into the mud that, we didn't expect this one. No, this is the political. It's not that way. And the investigators, remember, they are hitting the rock as well. Okay? I want to say that one of the officials within the PF some time back that when we had a meeting, he even says the investigators started to coalition. The candidates that are there, they are recycled candidates. And they are not even fit to lead the PF because they are part of the discussion that was there. Right now, it's time to prepare the ground. All of them.
The PF will be holding its convention in June to elect the new party president. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
So there you have it. That was Mr. Bizwa Mutale, the National Mobilization Committee member for the Patriotic Front. He still holds on to that position, Patrick, even after losing the election. He is very confident that he mobilized the party according to his expectation, only that they didn't do as expected for the Zambian people as a party, hence losing this election. He is vying for the presidency in the Patriotic Front, and according to him, he's the only person who can turn around the fortunes of the party.
Yeah, that's what he claims, Sharon.
Yes.
And he says it bluntly that the competitors cannot match him because they were part of the disastrous performance that the PF went according to him, and he feels he has no competition. But we'll see about that, because we are anticipating the general conference in June this year.
Yes,
and the time is moving fast, Sharon. We'll be talking about 3 months.
2 months, actually, maybe 2 months from now. But Mr. Mtale says it is not happening, Patrick. You and I know very well. We had an interview with him where he said this general conference will not happen because we are not prepared as a party, you know. So we wonder what's going to happen, because these are the promises that have been made to the Zambian people and the party as members, because truth be told, the Patriotic Front still remains one of the biggest political parties here. It's just been 3 months since it was removed from the wheels of power. So it still holds on to that huge membership countrywide, and therefore it still commands a certain audience, and people are looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. But then if at all they are not going to have this general conference, they're still going to have a caretaker leader. They will continue to perform badly in all these by-elections that are anticipated. According to one of the election experts that we spoke to at some point, he said the problem is that the Patriotic Front does not have leadership in place. Looking at their performance in Kabwata, quite all right, it was a small margin, but they said what also contributed to them not winning that election was that they had no better leadership in place.
Yeah,
so we are hoping to see.
Them. And they say people who were part of that campaign process were people
that disappointed the people,
and people are still skeptical whether to support them or not. So those are issues that are equally affecting the former ruling party. And if they are rebranding, they need to rebrand with the right leadership. And if the right leadership can only be put in place during the general conference, and we just hope that it will take place as said by the party officials in the name of Given Lubinda, who is now the acting party president, as well as the vice president. Well, such good positions to hold.
Positions to hold for one person.
Yeah, so we're just going to anticipate that, and hope that they'll put their house in order, because a political scientist and historian from the University of Zambia, Professor Bizek Piri, also gave us that analysis, Sharon, to say opposition political parties are needed in Zambia with that vibrancy to help the United Party for National Development government perform to the expectation, because they have to they have to make sure that they continue to power the pressure so they can be able to respond to issues that are affecting the Zambians. And that can only happen when there is a strong opposition in the country. Minus that, it will be difficult, because the provision of checks and balances won't be effective.
Indeed, the opposition, very important in a democratic country like Zambia, a growing democracy, I must mention. So every political party is very, very important. With
now that you are mentioning that, very important, we'll be having a segment next week, very important.
Can you say thank you to me for juggling your mind?
Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
You are supposed to say thank you, my goodness. You're bullying me on
yeah, for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome, Patrick.
Very important is a segment where we're going to make people send us what they think is very important, so that the officials or the government officials should respond to things our citizens feel are very important, and they are very in various communities. So that segment will be coming effective Monday, and you, our dear viewers, you're going to be sending us those clips in terms of video clips, telling us what is happening in your compounds and what you want to be done, especially by the officials themselves. So the very important concept, they tell us what they think is important. Exactly. And we're going to make sure that you also tell them, according to you, what you think is very important. Sharon, what is very important under a minute for you?
What is very important? That you celebrate me as a woman.
Good. So it is very important that we celebrate Sharon as a woman, and we're going to make sure that we ask the minister that she does that rightly. The minister of let's say people responsible for the gender agenda in Zambia.
Yes.
Now that we don't have the Minister
we have a gender commission.
We know that the gender now stands under the office of the Vice President.
I have a gender department, gender desk.
That's the difficult now to coordinate gender
I can imagine
issues.
even mentioning it is giving me mouth.
We had a story on climate change where the minister also vowed that they will not impose restriction on exports because it's government policy not to close the borders.
Indeed, you're watching the Camnet Breakfast with me, Sharon Kalimbola. On the other side is Patrick Soko. Just now, we zoom into another story talking about climate and agriculture. And that's the Minister of Agriculture,
exactly,
who was giving us that interview and spoke about a number of things. But as usual in the news, we have limited time. So we picked out this. Let's look at it.
Climate change is a matter that needs serious attention, but in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, even this important issue has also not received the right attention from a cross-section of society. Changes in temperature cause changes in rainfall. This results in more severe frequent storms. They cause flooding and landslides, destroying homes and communities. Climate change can affect health, ability to grow food, housing, and safety at work. Zambia has seen it all, with several districts being affected. Some farmers have already lost out due to crop failure as a result of floods and droughts.
Our savings in this farm, as you can see, we've got multiple crops here. There's maize, there's cabbage, these ordinary vegetables. Yeah, if we can't even, if we were to estimate, it is close to 500,000 that has been just wasted just like this.
The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, JCTR, Executive Director, Father Alex Muyebe, has advised the government to impose restrictions on maize exports in anticipation of the poor yields due to weather variations.
Much as it is desirable that we should open up our borders, we should trade with our neighbors, but when it comes to milo and when it comes to maize, with the pending hunger, we urge the government to vote that process.
But Minister of Agriculture, Mutoropiri, has vowed not to impose restrictions on grain exports, even in the wake of climate change.
Ever close the borders again on maize, maize meal, maize bran, wheat bran, soya beans, soy cake. We shall never ever close the borders again. So what will determine the flow will be the availability, the exchange rate, and the price. That's what will determine the flow.
The minister is confident that the country has sufficient food reserves to meet the local demand.
We might get poor harvest because of the floods, the drought, and the rainfall pattern which has been unpredictable. But you are traveling, you are here. You are moving between Chipata and Lusaka and other provincial heads, and you have seen the crop is not as bad as people would like to indicate. In other words, we will still get some production which is reasonable. Okay, I cannot give actual figures. These will come out in the next 40 or 60 days when the proper crop harvest has been done. Okay, not crop harvest, but crop focus has been done.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Like any district in the outskirts, the water situation in Mafinga district of Mochinga province has been a constant challenge since time immemorial. It is said residents share the water sources with animals, which pose an health hazard, not to mention the dry season that makes it even hard to access water. In response to this challenge, Mafinga District Council is embarking on a 15 boreholes installment project as part of the district annual work plan. In an interview with Camnet News, Council Secretary Francis Ndola says the project will be funded by the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation.
I think the district has a serious challenge as regards to the water situation, where I think our communities are sharing waters, are drawing their waters from the wells and from the rivers. It normally becomes a challenge during the dry season when most of the water points it dries up. So as a council in this annual work plan this year, we've planned to do 15 boreholes with funding from Ministry of Water Development, and we're also going to do 5 boreholes in the schools, including 15 VIP toilets in the health facilities and the schools.
He has further stated that the council is working in collaboration with the Ward Development Committee to identify various points on which boreholes will be dotted across the district.
2013, we are working that in conjunction with the WDCs. So communication is sent through to the WDC to identify the water points following the guidelines set out under that action plan, where they have to consider the issue of distances, they have to consider the issue of population in the areas before they identify the water point. Then they submit through the office or the district planning office.
It is therefore hoped that when this project succeeds, the people of Mafinga district will have access to both clean and safe water. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, Mafinga district, Machinga province.
Welcome back. There you have it. We zoomed in some of the two stories there. Interesting one, the one on climate and the one on drilling of boreholes in Mafinga. And quite interesting stories, Sharon, there.
Indeed, Patrick, quite interesting stories. But right about now, we go straight into our next interview. And a very interesting guest, must make mention, Patrick.
Exactly, a very interesting guest. We have Honorable Princess Kasune, the Kembe constituency member of parliament, and the government deputy chief whip. Well,
it had to come out.
Exactly.
Government.
Yeah. Welcome to the program, madam.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
We are glad that you could find time to be with us in the studios this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, to get started, first of all, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to give us just a professional preamble of yourself, just limited to professional, as who is Princess Kasune, because this is the first time we are hosting you at Camnet TV.
Yeah, first of all, many thanks to those that are viewing. In terms of profession, really, I started off as a volunteer on my own when I had the HIV and AIDS situation. I started off by coming up with the ministry, I called it at that time, Fountain of Life. And I asked myself, what can I do to support orphans and vulnerable children? Out of that, I thought 20 children would come to our house and I could homeschool them. But in the end, 60 children came. When they heard there was also Shima, there was also a few things. I remember those days we used to use a community radio station. Our children came from different backgrounds. Some had dropped out of school in grade 5 and they needed to go back to school, but there was no place. So I would homeschool them. And within a week, they ended up being 120 children, and it expanded from there. And that organization has expanded that now it's doing more of building infrastructure, hospitals and clinics, and also partnering with other non-government organizations, particularly now in Kembe constituency, even though the focus is more of the rural areas, so they hope to expand. That was in 1998. And then from there, I started to volunteer with an organization called Cooper Belt Health Education Project. Ali Kinyerenda was then the executive director. There were people like Chawu Kalenga. And really because I had gone out public that I was HIV positive. And I was trying to break the silence that was attached to people living with HIV. Not only that, my parents, both of them died of AIDS. And so I really thought it was a personal commitment for me, and it remains a personal commitment. And you're talking of 1998, it's a long time.
Yes.
It wasn't as common as now that you see other people talking about their status. It's more common because there's treatment, so the stigma has lessened. But it was through that I also met Dr. Manasseh Piri, the late Dr. Manasseh Piri, literally in a random situation. I had told myself, if we talk about HIV within churches, within schools, what's the point when the truck drivers keep going back and forth? So I would hitchhike. Crazy idea, but this is what I would do. I would almost dress up as a commercial sex worker so that I can get into a truck and talk to the truck drivers. By then I was living in Wansha, and then I would use that triangle of Vundola, Kitwe, and Wansha, and I would have my HIV results to show them. And so it was in that crazy moment, and you have to understand the agency. I was told I'll only live for 6 months.
Yes. In
1997, well, the results came out in 1998, January. So I was saying to myself, God, I don't want to die before I do something. I want to make a difference. And so it was out of that I met Dr. Manase Piri, who invited me on a radio station, Radio Chengelo, and fast forward, that radio station, that program in particular, it was a live program. People were like, no, we wanted to have our own radio program. We wanted to have more frequency time. And I ended up producing and hosting a radio program called Positive Living. Started on Radio Chengelo, ended up on ZNBC, sponsored by UNICEF, and Chep was facilitating that. Fast forward, I started working for World Vision as a community, actually assistant community development facilitator, almost just a little bit above the peer educator. And out of that, a man met me from the US. He was the president of World Vision US International, Ken Casey. When I told him my story and what I was passionate about, I told him I had a vision for the world. I had a vision to make Zambia a better place for others, especially for orphans and vulnerable children and women. It was there then that they offered me a job in World Vision in Zambia. Strictly talking about HIV and AIDS, I became an educator, but then World Vision US ended up employing me in the US in Chicago, where I became spokesperson to churches on HIV and AIDS. So it was more speaking to pastors, speaking to churches, as well as to the government. So I had an opportunity, as you know, to meet with President George Bush. Out of that meeting in the Oval Office, $15 billion was passed. Hence how we have treatment today, which is more accessible. That was really a game changer. And then from there, I moved to Seattle, where I became the spokesperson for World Vision for orphans and vulnerable children. But I had this agency to come back and give back to my country. And that's how I came into politics in 2016, from a purely humanitarian background, purely from saying, God, I want to make a difference for my country and for the world at large.
And now you're the deputy government chief whip.
First,
exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, that carries well that we have the right guest for our topic of discussion today. Talking about hindrances to women's participation in politics. We will start with that question. What do you think is the major hindrance to women's participation in politics?
So I was even, first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, of course, her Honor, the Vice President, Talina Lumango, and of course, I've come to learn that some of the conversation around whips, because that's what we are. My boss, who is the government chief whip, is Mulusa. Sanford Mulusa, and I'm the deputy to him. You realize that a lot of the party structure also plays a role. So I want to believe that maybe the SG and his team played a role, because you don't really ever know how you came about.
Yes.
You know, I was on my way trying to go somewhere. Oh, you are now the government deputy chief. I'm like, what? You know. But I have to say thank you to the New Dawn. I think there's that strive in trying to make sure that women are put in different political arena, because really when you look at the House, which is Parliament, we still are only talking about, is it 25 women? When you talk of the Vice President, you add our first female speaker, her Right Honourable Nelly Muti, then you have the deputy, first deputy, which is Honourable Chisangano, and then you add me as some of the MPs and those who are nominated. We have really the mother, I would call her, her Honourable Mutinta Mazoka, as you know very well. Mazoka was the founder of UPND, so we honour her, we honour him and his legacy. And so the gap remains. You're talking of 25 members of parliament, female member of parliament, against, is it 146 somewhere about, of men. That is it 142? I said 145. So maybe the men are 142, because I think Parliament has a total of 167.
Yes.
So we have a long way to go. So how is the president trying to ensure that at least that gap is being closed? It is by having people like the first Speaker of the Parliament to be a female. That has to be recommended. He went forward also to have the deputy first speaker, Honorable Sangano, as again another female, then plus myself, because we are part of the running of Parliament as whips. So really it is recommendable. However, the challenges remain. The challenges for women. one of the things I've come to learn and realize in politics, it's not much of your expertise. It's not much of your qualifications. I hold 2 master's degrees. My first master's is in non-profit administration, and my second master's is in theology, in divinity. I went to the University of North Park in Chicago. And again, I forgot to say that I dropped out of school at grade 11, but you know, our friends in the West, when they see the potential, they'll really nurture that, they'll celebrate that, they'll bring in the limelight. And a lot of people say, you need to go back to school. You have the potential, you are naturally intelligent, but without education, you're going to be limited. And so that's how I went back to school in the university. I jumped the undergrad, so I don't have an undergrad degree. I went straight into a master's. Of course, they test you to see if you can handle the studies, and literally I became the student of our year. So that just shows that when people are given opportunities, they can succeed. But coming to women, it is a challenge, because what I'm beginning to realize, and I'm trying to help women in particular, not only in parliament but also outside, is that in politics, it's not much of even qualifications. Of course, you have to have a grade
12 minimum.
How did you manage to have the grade 4?
So I went back from having dropped out of school in grade 11. There was just this friend of mine who kept saying, again, Princess, you're intelligent. My former boss, who's now the president of Living Water International, said you need to go and get your high school what do you call it? Certificate or diploma. So in America again, I did that in the US in 2005. So you can imagine from 1994, when I became a teenage mother and dropped out of school, I only went back in 2005, and that's how I graduated. And lo and behold, that was the very basic qualification. You had to be a member. So when you look at us, realize we are grade 12 equivalents. So some of the things you have to understand from that point of view. I'm being funny, but you didn't catch the joke.
We caught it now. We caught it now. No, because we are caught and you know we are thinking, so is her seat going to be petitioned, you know? Does she have the grade 12? How did she survive?
Oh, so you are really sitting with friends and heroes.
Yeah. How did she survive these petitions that are all over the show?
But anyway, buy the grade 12, but anyway, let me not go into that.
Story for another day.
For another day. But back to women.
Yes.
In politics, it's not much of your qualification, although you have to have the basic. It is also who you know. And it has been a difficult ride for me, because literally I came from a humanitarian background. I'm an NGO background, where the poor are, where the voiceless are. That is my heart. But to be grateful also, the chiefs saw that in me, the headmen saw that in me, the key stakeholders in the NGO world, the pastors and the churches in Zambia were like, you are already doing what a public servant is supposed to be all about. I was like, I don't think so. And you know what? Come to think of it, Honorable Shikakwasha, who was actually my predecessor, called me one time because I was building these schools through the NGO I talked about, Fountain of Life Africa. He said, I've never come across a young person like you who is so passionate about giving back to our country, because I was in the US then, that every year I would come back, stay in the villages for 2 months, 3 months, and my job allowed me to do that, because I told them I wanted to get back to my country. And he said, when I'm tired, in Lenje, then they'll call a member of parliament. Meaning when I get tired, I want you to become the member. I laughed it off. Because I was like, oh, it's datey. I mean, wearing regalias. Oh my God. We were in town one time with my friends from the same NGO who are funders, and we saw these, former PF people wearing, I'm saying former ruling party, they were wearing regalias and they were singing, and my friends were like, do you really want to be part of this? We're like, no! But here I am. So I think what is a challenge is that a lot of women are at home. A lot of women may not have the networks that men have out there. Now, if already politics is about who you know, even though you need the qualification to some great extent, it becomes a challenge. Secondly, finances. Whether you like it or not, whether in the US or in Zambia, politics has become so much driven by who has the money. And it's is sad. In the process, we are losing quality leaders. We are losing the right people, because if you don't have the money, but you have the heart, you don't have the networks, it becomes a challenge. And of course, the violence has added on to it. The cyberbullying. You know, it's unfortunate that in Zambia, while in China, Korea, the young people are using social media to make money. I mean, talk of Alibaba. You know, Alibaba was a small organization, became so big because they were using all these social media platforms. But here in Zambia, we are seeing that women are targeted in terms of insults, especially women in leadership, and so it becomes a challenge for women. So only a few will even dare to venture out. And then also, we haven't created systems or instruments, which we need to do. I hope within our tenure with having a female speaker, we can look into how can we lobby around the ruling party, which is the UPND, as also the main opposition parties, to ensure that there's some kind of safe seats for women or some kind of 2020 representation. Otherwise, it remains.
So the mixed are you for the mixed member proportion?
However we get there, I just want us to be deliberate. And this doesn't have to be forever. You know, when you talk of the US, I use it a lot because my other family is in the US. There had to be affirmative action for blacks to catch up to the level where they needed to be in universities. Otherwise, without that, it's difficult. Now, others may say, no, we want them to. Of course, you're going to have to perform at a certain level of academic understanding. But if you say 10% or 20% of Harvard is left for black people, I think you are creating a passage because of the history. So here in Zambia, because of our history, because of the lagging of women in participating in political leadership, I think there has to be some kind of instrument deliberately by the government or by the political parties to ensure that there is a 50-50 representation.
Yes.
A few days ago, you were part of the members of parliament supporting the rights of a girl child, among other things that you do. How does the free education policy going to help the girl child out there? And what are you doing to influence this change, especially that you are from a rural community that is Camnet?
So thank you that you asked that question. Even before the free education, if there's one thing that I hope the people of Kembe will remember me for, and even really at the national level, because I have tried to connect people to scholarships, I have tried to bring in friends of means within the US, the UK, Australia, to sponsor children. Some of the first work that I did was to have four students sponsored, and they've been teachers. That was in 2016. So with the free education, I think it just makes it more accessible for all children, hopefully, but even more so for girls. I think it is important, therefore, to recommend the government of the day, which is the New Dawn government, to see to it that those who are dropped out of school, because that is the issue, and many of those who are dropping out of school were girls, now they can be re-entered. And that is why I see it as part of the champions, we are calling ourselves, over 15 members of parliament who are actually committed to ensure that we talk about comprehensive sexuality education as a way of encouraging young girls staying in school. Because what has happened for many years, if you may know, nearly 15,000 or 16,000 young girls drop out of school because they have become pregnant along the way. Why? Because they don't know. They don't understand that I need to protect my body, or they don't understand how can I prevent myself from getting pregnant. So if we have free education for those who are dropped out of school, remember Zambia has the back to school policy for girls. I mean, we can argue in terms of what are the benefits and whatnot, but at least we do have that policy. Plus, with the free education that is out there, there may be teething issues, because I've heard people say now it's overcrowded, we didn't expect this, or the systems in place. I think this is recommendable, and this is also going to ensure that in the long run, it trickles down to increasing women in politics, women in governance issues, women as leaders in different positions here in this country. And I have to say that Ban Ki-moon, who was the former Secretary General of the UN, said, where women are given the priority, to be in influential positions. We find that development is more accelerated. We find that in economical programs, those economical programs or non-governmental programs, they are also successful because women were put in those seats.
Zambia signed to various gender protocols that seek to promote a 50-50 representation. How are you going to play a part to ensure that under the UPND government, such commitments are accelerated?
So I think one of that is a good observation. So yes, it's 6 months since the new Dawn government through the UPND came into power. It's a good time, but it's also still early. As it is to ensure, like I'm the chairperson for the Parliamentarian Women Caucus as well. Deputized by Honorable Brenda Nyerenda, who is on the PF side, because this is a caucus for all female parliamentarians. So it's the Zambia Parliamentarian Women Caucus. We want to ensure that as a caucus, as women also, and even in my role as the government deputy chief whip, is to see to it, how can we bring those protocols that have been signed alive to Parliament, and also how can they be implemented? Believe you me or not, Zambia has been so respected around the world in terms of having these protocols signed, being the trailblazers in writing policies and things that other countries have imported. But here was our paralysis: implementation, domestication. So I think one of the things that this parliament will be doing, and of course the government, the executive, we have people like Honorable Doreen Mwamba, who is the Minister of Community, where a lot of these things may be aligned, and of course the gender works under the Office of the President is to ensure that these are not only signed protocols, but they become domesticated, they become implemented. That is the paralysis we have had with the past government, and my prayer, my hope, that all of us from different angles, the speaker from her perspective and her strength, the president, the vice president, myself and the whip's office, and others, the minister in those roles, can also be part of this conversation. Because what are protocols if you cannot domesticate them? What are they if you cannot implement them? And so we hope that we can do that.
March is a Women's Month as well as the Youth Month. What is your word to them with regards to participating in these governance issues? We notice that most of the times women are usually remembered during this period, but this should be a long-term thing that is supposed to be a daily conversation in order for change to be effected. Are we doing enough as a country to ensure that women are incorporated in these various positions? Women are given a voice, the youths are also given a voice.
I think there is upward trajectory, but how quick, that is for Zambians to say. Because when you are a leader, I think you can overrate yourself. But the nation and the people out there, they should be able to say, I think this is the difference. So again, because of the 6 months period, good as it is, to some extent, in America they use the 90 days, is it 100 days? I think they usually use the 100 days. Like, what has the president done in 100 days? What has this government done in 100 days? So we have to remember that we are also a developing country, and we are coming from a background where I think the previous government didn't do much in terms of development for women, and in particular for the youth. That's why you saw the 1 million difference in terms of the voting pattern. But it is also a caution and a warning to us who are in government today to say, if there are people whom we need to give a serious priority, and we are beginning to, and we are doing, and that is the vision that the president has together with the vice president and the executive, is to ensure that women are put on center stage, so as the youths. Now, in terms of what more can be done, I think women, so we talked about the education aspect. That is the beginning. It will take time, because you have to go to school for 12 years. Those who were out of school, maybe they were in grade 11, they were in grade 12. So some of the results may be felt in 3-4 years. But I think what is important is to always remember that those that hold this nation are ordinary people. While we are in leadership, is to remember that there is a saying, is it in Bembo, say, Infumubantu, It's the same thing. So if we as leaders can always remember that the bulk majority of the people that we have been given the opportunity to represent, not even to lead in a way, but to represent our women and youths. So I want to see a lot of programs emphasized to them. Honorable Elvis Kandu has been really running around just to traverse the country and see, because really, being new in the offices, you have to run and see, get a scope, and then begin to implement. Of course, some programs are being implemented, but there's more that can be done. Again, also the Minister of Community Development, I think she's doing a lot of things that has a trickling effect to women and youths in a dotted sense. And of course, the President himself, together with his Vice President, I think they are looking into that. But it has to be everyone. Women have to be brought up to feel they can participate. In my house, whether you're a boy, you have to sweep the house. And when I buy the cadoris, you know, the cadoris for the girls, I also make sure I buy a car for the girls. I also want to make sure the girls go and wash the car outside. Because if the girls don't have the sense of washing the car, what makes you think that they are going to think of them owning a car one day? So these things are not just for politicians. It's also how are we grooming, how are we culturizing, how are we socializing our children when they're young. So just like I'm saying, the girls, you need to go and wash the car. The girls, you need to go and water the garden. Also, can you open the gate? Also, the boys, can you sweep the house? Because they are then already, I'm shaking the traditional way of thinking. Even myself, I'm very much prone to tell the girls, go and cook versus the boys. But there has to be a way. I always go in the kitchen. Who is sweeping today? Oh, it's the boys. Oh, it's the girls. Okay. Because if we don't do that, it becomes very difficult to change our behaviors when we are already grown.
So I'm hoping you respond to this. With the absence of the Ministry of Gender, do you think it has affected the promotion of women's rights? I know there's a desk that has been created.
Yeah. You know, I am not the president, so I don't want to believe that I understand his reasoning, but I believe that that is why I think if you see a lot of positions after that, he is trying to make sure that that gap is being closed up. I think you have seen, is it the leader of, is it the Drug Enforcement
Commission?
I've seen a lot of women in these different positions, and I've talked about myself as the government deputy chief whip. I've talked of the speaker. So I think he recognizes the need, because for us as Zambia to think that we don't have a gap in terms of women participation is a lie. Numbers do not lie. The reality, you have more women in the country. What is the population of Zambia? It's 18 plus million. And yes. What is the ratio between men and women?
Women are over 60.
Over 60%. What is the ratio of women in leadership?
This is the opposite.
It's the opposite. So I think it is important, therefore, that I think his agenda was to minimize the positions of ministers, which we all appreciate and uphold. But the question is, how do we ensure that women are not left out? Because when you put a certain position out there, you are making a statement. You know, even when you are campaigning, that's why you have words, Princess Kasune, but you also have the symbol. Because the symbol is actually a very symbolic, just as the word says symbol. So I think the bemoaning that we are hearing from NGOCC, from other gender activists, including myself, I'm a gender activist, is to ensure that we do not neglect women. So that is why you find that there is a desk for women. There is I think what he has done, he has mainstreamed. But the question is, for those ministries that have mainstreamed gender issues, can we ensure that we highlight them? Otherwise, it's easy to be forgotten, it's easy to be minimized, and I don't think that's the intention of the president.
We understand you are a seasoned parliamentarian with that experience, and now with a new responsibility of Deputy Government Chief Whip. How would you think what would be your recommendation in terms of the women's movement as in the NGO sector, complementing the government in terms of championing this agenda? Because we talked about financial constraints, and if you have also witnessed some of the activities the women's movement undertakes towards prior to the general election, how can we do things differently to ensure that we change the discourse in terms of ensuring that more women stand up and participate, because not everyone has the courage as yours to just stand up and say, I'm going to be vying for as a councillor, or I'm going to stand up and contest for this position as a member of parliament. How can we do things differently going forward?
Absolutely. I've been talking with Wase Mwale, NGOCC. I think I also didn't go into details with one of the, is it the executive at Women's Lobby?
Yes.
And the argument is that we cannot start talking to these women a year before elections. Even you as a member of parliament, if you forget about your constituency all these years, which people do, and then I see even the cartoons in the caricatures in the papers, now the MP, it's a year to go, it is asking which way to my constituency. I saw some cartoon of that nature. You know, it's not helpful. Okay, so we have been talking with the executive director for NGOCC and a little bit in passing with Women's Lobby, and really all other women players, even the Law Association for Women. We need to ensure that how do we bring, though I haven't communicated to them yet, but I'm just saying these groups and many others out there, how do we talk to women now? How do you come to Camnet constituency, whether it's a workshop, but you are there with me? How do you go to Chisamba, where the Minister of Information and Media, Honorable Chushka Sanda, is from? How do you ensure you go to the women who are backbenchers? Because what you want is to maintain all the, is it 25 women, plus an addition. But what we end up seeing, you know, that the turnover at Parliament is very high. So while you are working, ufunika uzika ko something kuti mailo sinza kabwele. Otherwise, you're talking of 70% of the people never came back. So for some of us who have come for the second time, and you are a woman, you thank God first and foremost, but you also say, don't forget your constituency. So my encouragement to these NGOs is to ensure that we do things outside workshops. We go in the constituencies where women already are, and even where the men are, but maybe we can also, without overstepping, how can we ensure that we talk to the councillors? Because even in Kembe, for example, I have no woman councillor. Even in 2016, at least I had 2 out of the 12 councillors. Now Kembe has 13 wards and no woman at all. And here I am a gender activist. So it is really a challenge. Zambia as a country, in terms of governance, we need to do more. And that is why it is important, therefore, that all parties, whether it is UPND, it is PF, it is FDD still there or it died? You know, I don't know. What is Shantembo's PEP? All of them. Let's ensure that we are trying to groom women, and it has to be done now. Even us who are members of parliament, and I've been raising this issue with my colleagues, how we support each other, regardless of the political affiliation, so that we all come back and we add more to the teams. Well, and I'm not apologetic about that.
Well, in fact, the conversation has been flowing to the extent that we couldn't even open the phone lines. But in case you just want to interact with us, you can still engage us by the number that is scrolling on your screens, as well as on our Facebook page. You can send us a message there. We'll be able to read it out, as we have only 10 minutes to wind up as instructed.
Wow.
And
the time, so it doesn't mean I'm coming back again?
Yeah. So
you will come back.
we will try to facilitate for that. But we want to also get your message, because next week we'll be having Women's Day. And what reflections should we have as a country as we move forward on that day, as we talk about the women agenda? What should we reflect on, and how can we better do things?
And just to add on, Honorable, we've seen quite a number of instances where women are being abused, and with the use of social media, we are using it in the negative, like you mentioned earlier. what positive messages can we use social media for, especially with regards to women? We've seen the recent video where a woman was being raped apparently. Other people, though, are saying it was consented, but how, though, is the bigger question. So maybe as you delve into the Women's Day celebrations and your message, you can also speak to the use of social media and curbing bullying or abusing women.
Yeah. I think first and foremost is to say that every day is Women's Day. It is important. I've never seen a man who has never come from a woman. We were born from a woman. We are raised usually by a woman. It may not be your biological mother, it is your auntie, it is your grandmother. There's just the nurturing side that women bring. And women are natural leaders, right from the house. Girls, you would say, of course, the men are also leaders, but I'm talking specifically to women. So my encouragement is that every day is Women's Day, and 8th March is just a day that is allocated to women. It is saddening to see that a lot of vices against women, a lot of cyberbullying towards women in Parliament, where there's so much just trash writing when it comes to women. There's so much political violence. I've talked about this in different interviews. I was hacked by machetes in 2016 when I was running for office here in Lusaka, when we came to see the filing in of the president then. Well, at that time, he was the president for UPND, who is not the president. Right here are the machetes of where we were hacked and we were ambushed at Zesco there. And it wasn't just me, it was the entire group of people who came from Kembe constituency. So I think the message is that we all have a responsibility, and it is important also not to keep forwarding messages that are degrading, because that is where they get the excitement to post. And we have become so insensitive. We don't even warn, we just post. I personally, I don't watch. Even the video that happened, the incident in Chipata, even though I followed up with YWCA, the executive as well, and asking what are the police doing. I have refused to watch because I don't want my eye gate, we have gates, to be polluted and to normalize these issues that are not normal. So let's use social media to educate ourselves, to speak of the pride of the Zambian woman, the pride of the Zambian girl, the beauty. I mean, not just the physical beauty, but also the intellect. I hope I've represented the members out there well, meaning whatever the woman has told you, usually you go back to it. So I think we deserve to be celebrated as women. Women deserve to be in different spheres of leadership. And women, you are powerful, you are beautiful, you are intelligent. Never underestimate that. And women are leading. Maybe not as much in front, but you better believe it. This morning, you are here because some woman was leading behind. Or beside.
Some woman ironed his shirt.
I'm being attacked by the women now.
I mean, show me a woman who hasn't been taught.
Sharon, I think your women's month is going well.
I'm enjoying this, I'm telling you.
Interesting.
Honorable to the people of Kembe as we wind up.
Oh, I love them. As a parliamentarian, you realize your biggest boss are the voters in your constituency. So I owe it to you. I'm grateful to you. Dalumba, let's keep working together. I hope my legacy of ensuring that every child in Kembe is given an opportunity to be educated, as we sponsor more in schools, in university, as we look for opportunity for employment for businesses, that it will be my legacy that I made a difference for the voiceless and for those who could not be seen. They came to the center stage, and especially women and girls and the youths.
Thank you. There you have it. We've been hosting Kembe constituency member of parliament, Princess Kasune, as well as the deputy government chief whip in the exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And she's the first female Deputy Chief Whip, to be specific, and she had pressed emphasis on that, Sharon, as well.
Also the first female member of parliament for Camnet.
For Camnet as well.
Since independence.
Well, we've been breaking the records.
She's a record breaker.
Interesting, there you have it. We have had a good conversation here in the studios, and Sharon, on my part, I've enjoyed the Women's Month. I'm enjoying it as well.
We're just getting started, my brother.
Over to you.
We're just getting started. So, all right, thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. We've been in conversation, like Patrick has mentioned, with the Deputy Government Chief. Is it I'm even confused.
Government Deputy Whip in Zambia.
In Zambia,
hey.
The first.
That's right.
I think the conversation has been very, very good. That I'm very excited that she's actually breaking the record, being the first on a number of positions, and we are grateful for that, especially that it is the Women's Month. We are just getting started with such conversations. Honorable, thank you so much for choosing us to come this morning.
Thank you.
And to you, the viewers out there, for choosing us. That's where we wrap it up for the breakfast show. Join another crew tomorrow, Friday. Thank you so much. Good morning.